going to be recorded. Thank you. And thank you, Mike, for being here at Island Books. We appreciate you coming and talking about who you are, and what you want to do for Mercer Island. So it's your hour.
All right. Well, instead of me doing a bunch of talking, why don't I just kind of have open mic night, right? Just open session. Feel free to ask questions as necessary. Just converse, right? Maybe there's stuff we just want to talk about. So,
well, if nobody wants to kick it off, I do have a question from Georgia from the chat. She says, after living all over the world, why did you decide to move to Mercer Island? What ideas do you have to maintain and improve the things you love about Mercer Island and why you lived here?
Well, so I grew up as a kid all over the world. As an adult in the military, I traveled the world. And marriage, ultimately, and being close to one set of grandparents brought me back to Mercer Island. My wife is from Mercer Island. We live in a house that she grew up in. And so, yeah, it was an easy choice to do that. You know, her parents, they brought her home, like I said, they brought her home to that house back in the late 60s. So she grew up there. My kids have all done the same school she did. Hopefully, we were hoping that they were going to get some of the same teachers we have. But it's a little bit before then. But yeah, so you know, having lived on that, so I've been a part of this island since 1994. I've seen what it was, and I've seen what it's kind of grown into. I'd like to kind of keep it where it's at and kind of build it back up again. Right? So, you know, our schools, we love the school system. We want to make sure that we still get basically private institution schooling at public school prices. I think that's a common theme that we have. I love our police force, our EMS, and I love our fire system as well. It's fun walking around to see familiar faces in uniform and saying hi and so on and so forth, and they know who I am, right? Kind of like my little Mayberry, so to speak. So yeah, I just want to build that up. I want folks to feel safe. I want our parks to be pretty and healthy, and I want to make sure that our response teams are taken care of. I want to make sure that we're doing right by our children. Eventually, I want my kids to be able to come back home and live here if they want, but not too soon. So yeah, you know, we can wait a couple years for that. Yeah. Kids and all that. I'm not ready to do that yet. So. Yeah.
So what experience do you have in government?
Well, having been plugged into it for 10 years as active in the military and then part of the Washington State National Guard, and having, you know, again, traveled the world, and then part of that is an extension of the government. You know, everything. I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this out, right? So it's having been that extension. You know, we represent the United States. Here I represent Mercer Island. So, you know, it's your word is your bond. You know, it's having 2 ears and one mouth, listening more than you speak. Working with your fellow council members, working with the citizens who put you in office, right? You work for them. You don't work for yourself as a council, right? And these are things that the government taught me, working with government. Being plugged into the military, being plugged into the bigger machine, so to speak, right? It was, you know, it was just an honor to do that, and I can't think of anything else.
I'm kind of confused. You're ex-military recently, or?
So I was I exited the Washington State National Guard in 2007.
Okay.
So, but yeah, so military experience in the government, obviously voting, you know, making sure that I try to do my research on candidates, trying to understand both sides of the fence, so to speak, not just going in with one point of view and saying that's the way I'm going to roll, but just trying to make sure I understood both sides, asking, you know, the weird questions that nobody wanted to ask, or listening to folks that other folks didn't listen to. Right. If anything, it's taught me that if we're going to move this whole mess forward, we gotta listen. You know, we can all have our own opinions, but you know, the way to fix it is how can I help you, or how can you fix it? There's no I in there; it's we, us, together, right? So, That's what, that's what, sure.
I have another question here from Georgia. What skills from your current position as Scrum Master do you think will best serve you as a council member? And what exactly is a Scrum Master?
So, well, we'll start with what is a Scrum Master. That's the easy part, I think. So Scrum Master is, it's kind of like a project man. He's like a project manager, program manager, kind of coach, all rolled into one. What they do is they facilitate, they practice open and transparent communication, so that if there are issues, we can get them out in the open. We foster a bit of neutrality, so to speak. We give people a safe space to talk, essentially is what the Scrum Master does. We show people how to get more done in less time. We can take big projects and break them down into small bite-sized chunks and deliver value faster with less error and rework. And that's kind of just real top level. And then how does that help me in my run or my attempt to be a city council person? It's all of the above. It's, do we have to have a 5-hour meeting every week? I don't know. We'll cross that cap when we get there, but maybe we don't. Maybe there's a better way to do it. I don't know, right? So facilitating communication, one of my priorities is to make sure that I can help the council regain the trust of Mercer Islanders. And I think in the past there's been a little bit of discontent there. So by helping to facilitate those conversations and being able to have those open and transparent communication lines, I think that goes a long way on both sides, right? It's the council hears the voices of the folks, and the population sees that the council has their best interests at heart, and that's what they're there for. So. Okay, Georgia, you're all out.
No, George's got good questions. So Hunter is asking, what is it you don't think is currently being done now that motivated you to run?
And if you could repeat the question, because I don't think the microphone is picking up Lori's question. So.
Oh, here.
Is it okay if I take off?
Yes,
Yeah.
go right ahead.
Yeah.
What is it you don't think is being done currently that motivated you to run?
It's not necessarily what I don't think is being done, but so my call to action, so doing this, running for city council it's my call to service. I've had 3 before this. I had the military, I had a youth coach, and I had my professional coaching career that I currently do, and the city council piece. And what really kind of sealed it for me, walking my dog one morning early in Homestead Field, and heard some weird noises that the bathroom should be making. And so I called a non-emergency line to have somebody come out and take a look, right? Because we have, we're the population that live around Homestead, several retirees. We have young ladies that run, we have folks that walk their dogs and everything else. And so, and the conversation ensued was that, yeah, it's we're getting a lot of these types of calls now. And so, and not that the council's not doing a great job, it's just, I want to help be part of a future solution if we do come up with that. And so I want to make sure that, my kids are safe, my neighbors are safe, my wife is safe, I'm safe. And that goes for all the parks I have. So, public safety.
So that's one of my big issues is the safety and the crime that started on Mercer Island. I know businesses that almost on a weekly or even daily that their cars are broken into, ransacked. I could go on and on, but you get the picture. And I'm concerned when the Sound Transit starts letting people walking right down into the middle of Mercer Island, that I think we should have some stop somewhere along this without protecting people that even are living in their cars at the library when our children are going to the library. That's unacceptable to me.
I agree. I mean, we, you know, is
Michael, can you just paraphrase or repeat? for the
right.
microphone?
So, Ms. Cassan's statement question was, she's concerned about escalating crime at business sites, cars being broken into and ransacked. She's concerned that children and folks in general might be endangered once light rail starts running with the increase in ridership and increasing temporary population throughout the island, or at least on the north side, that might bring. So I agree. I mean, so, you know, I know the council right now is working through plans for 2023 when Sound Transit does go live, or their proposed live date. You know, and part of building or planning to have a bustling retail core to try to give folks, you know, maybe a stop or somewhere to get refreshments in between their rides, or Mercer Islanders giving them somewhere to stay on the island and go visit and have dinner and so on and so forth with their families. I know there's plans right now. They're working through those to look at what that might be for the police force, right? What that expansion looks like. So what those numbers look like, I don't know yet, but I know they're planning for the future right now. You know, all of that, we want to make sure we're able to enjoy that awesome engineering feat that Sound Transit's put down, right? I mean, everybody can say what they want about Sound Transit and management and this, that, and the other, but it's kind of a neat piece of engineering if you think about it, especially the floating bridge, right? That still boggles my mind every time I drive past that. So something to be proud of there. You know, the island's working on it, the council's working through those plans.
We have another question from Georgia. Why did you decide to accept only endorsements and financial contributions from Mercer Island residents? Can you repeat the question so we can make sure it's heard, please? Sorry.
Oh, no worries. So why did I decide to only accept on-island contributions and endorsements? I want people to know that Mercer Island is first and foremost for me, even if that includes saying no to off-island money. You know, I would represent Mercer Island first and foremost. I don't want to represent. I don't even want a doubt in anybody's mind that I would have any hooks to Bellevue or Seattle or whatever. Right. My primary focus is making sure that Mercer Islanders come first.
All right. Go ahead.
No.
I was just.
So, you know, in the past, there's been a lot of crony capitalism on Mercer Island. Being just having access to Mercer Island residents, I really appreciate that, because I think there has been too much crony capitalism that has infiltrated or was infiltrated into past city councils. That's not been helpful.
Victor, you have questions?
I was going to ask, what do you think the top 3 issues are for the island?
Top 3 issues in my mind are, again, public safety.
Yeah.
Holding Sound Transit accountable for agreements previously signed. I want to make sure we get through that. And then making sure our fire, EMS, and police system, our police force can take care of it. Right? I want to make sure that they have all the training that they need, that you know, any planning that we do this for Sound Transit, for instance, they're part of that planning process with the city management to make sure that happens, and all the other agencies that are involved with that as well. Make sure that and there's like a 3A, 3B, 3C right to that conversation too. It's, you know, making sure that fiscally that we're responsible with our money, that we're not spending what we don't have, that we're being smart about the investments that we're making in the Mercer Island. Yes, ma'am.
What experience do you have in sorting through budgets and questioning line items, was that part of your military expense? experience?
So the military's probably got one of the biggest budgets in the world, right? Besides the federal government. But a lot of my budgeting comes from my project management experience. And for that, we would actually track down to the hour of expenditure for consultants and full-time employees and wherever they were at in the world, right? Who was billing to our projects, because we had finite money. And so I had to make sure that if I was given 12 months of budget, I had to make sure I had 12 months of budget available. I couldn't have miscellaneous costs coming out of finite funds. And so we tracked down to the hour of people billing, expenses going out, any gift money that came in, and all that was reported up through financially through vice president stuff. So from a fiscal responsibility standpoint, it goes back down to don't spend what you don't have. What you do have, make sure you're spending it smart and track it as best you can.
What about in weighing competing needs with a finite budget?
So weighing competing needs is like weighing competing projects. You have to look at the needs of the business, and this instance being the needs of the island, right? Everybody's going to want to weigh in on a hot topic or a hot important piece of work that has to get done. And, weighing the pros and the cons of that, and then looking at what the infrastructure planning might be if that's what it is. Looking at personnel costs if that's what that might be. Looking at incoming monies, outgoing monies that you already currently have, and how all that plays out. I think is how that should be approached.
Thank you.
Well, how about land use?
Land use.
Hot topics, town center.
Yep.
Residential zoning.
So
Take it away.
residential zoning in town center. I think we kind of hit on it a couple times before. I don't know that I'd like to see any more 3 to 5 story buildings in town. I'd like to see a more robust retail corridor though. I'd like to be able to keep Mercer Islanders on Mercer Island, open up entrepreneurship to folks. I think there's a lot of great ideas. I just don't think there's anywhere to put it. So I'd like to see a more robust retail core, working with whatever commissions and agencies that we need to try to make that happen. I think what we have currently, I think is good enough. Personally.
So
I think what we currently have right now is good enough. With the addition of the 48 townhomes, I think it's 48 townhomes over by the farmers building, that's a lot of construction, a lot more traffic, a lot more infrastructure impact. That's going to go in place over the next couple of years. So
there's a lot more happening.
oh yeah, for sure.
Okay. All right. Residential wise?
So residential wise, I kind of like going around the island, seeing the little small cottages that we have. I think it's kind of a throwback to the history of Mercer Island as it came through. I like seeing some of the architecture and construction that's going on. I don't know about the whole mega mansion piece that goes up in a small lot and you have a mega house and you don't have anything else on it, right? So I do think that it drives maybe an artificial sense of real estate value. But that's something else to be able to work through the system. You have to talk to the correct agencies and have to make sure that if it's posing a problem or a future problem, we need to raise that up and have that discussion and see if it's feasible for the future.
But is it fair to say that you're not current in what's happening right now in council?
Sorry?
Have you followed what's happening currently in council on the town center and residential?
So I got to watch so the question was, am I current on what's going on with town center and all that? So I watched the FAR conversation they had the other night, a week and a half or 2 weeks ago. So that was an experience to be able to do that, to be able to watch that council session as well. I'm currently digging in also. I'm trying to learn as much as I can, as fast as I can about all that as I get closer to it. So, but that's just one of the things that I'm willing and happy to do is to put those hours in, to get that knowledge.
Okay.
Hi, welcome to the show.
Hi,
He
how
was,
are
he,
you? I'm sorry I'm late.
Oh, no, I'm doing just
no,
fine.
you were
thanks.
early. Remember, you were here 2.5 hours ago.
Yeah.
There is, Daniel Becker has a question on the screen. He has a softball question for you. Which
Yeah.
island park is your favorite and why?
Uh-huh.
And then the harder question, what action should city council take to help town center businesses?
All right. So he threw me a softball, then a fastball right after that.
That's right.
Okay,
It's a changeup, right?
it is. Big curve with it too. So obviously, because I live in Homestead, it's my favorite field, right? One of my most favorite things about Homestead Field, and I'm sure that the other fields have it as well. I really enjoy hearing the little kids out there playing soccer.
Yeah.
Like Wednesdays and Saturdays, I think it is mornings. It is just filled with kids, and they're all shrieking, laughing, having a good time. So that's one of my most favorite sounds in the world as I'm walking the dog and getting to watch it from the outside. So, and I'm sorry, what was the second half of that question?
The second question is, what action should city council take to help town center businesses?
Is there a maybe a distinction to be made in there or a clarifying comment that can be added to that?
I can ask him. I'm sure he did, but I'm just asking as well. Can unmute him and he can just.
I don't have a specific clarification. I was just curious what you think the city council can do to generally help businesses in the city that we should do to encourage retail.
Thank you, Daniel.
That's a good question. So as I dig into that, I want to better understand it. Quite honestly, I don't quite know all of the details of one of that, but I think that city council should be able to even incentivize retail development, incentivize businesses to be on the island. I don't know concessions. I don't know if they talked about that at all. You're on the island or not. I try to go through all the council sessions as well. Sometimes it's a little tedious, but yeah.
Okay.
Question from the back? Sorry, I didn't put you on the
It
spot.
might have already been asked since I was late. One of the major problems we've had with some of the previous city council people is that we have spent roughly around $6 million on special interest, which has ruined our things, summer celebration, lifeguards, all for special interest. And how do you feel about that? What's your position on it?
Well, my position on special interests, if they're not benefiting the island, do we really need it? I guess ultimately is what it boils down to. Anything we do on Mercer Island, anything that society has done should benefit Mercer Island somehow. It's people, parks, infrastructure, areas, right? So we're spending a ton of money, we're canceling festivals and all that. And then, despite the COVID pandemic, right, I understand there's safeguards that are put in place. But there's things that are going on. We'll have one thing but not the other. I don't quite understand that either. So I do want to dig into that and understand it better as well.
So you're for Mercer Island.
And for Mercer Island.
Thank you. That's what I want to hear.
I'm going to move that microphone a little bit closer.
Oh, yeah,
because
sure.
People are having a hard time. You just do a quick mic check. Hunter, can you let us know if that works better?
So better?
Hunter, can you?
Unmute and tell us.
Here, unmute you, Hunter. Yeah, he says he hears it. So,
Perfect.
great. All right.
There is another question. What is your understanding of how the council operates vis-a-vis the city manager? What is your understanding of how the council operates vis-a-vis the city manager?
So my understanding of how the council operates and works with the city manager. I think I read today that council hires, or as part of the hiring process for the city sister. And we work through that, implement policies and procedures as needed on that. We just want to do a great job.
I don't have another question right now, so we'll have
I'll
to.
ask. So what do you think is going well? And what's not going well on the island?
What is going well? I think the council and city management, the city manager are doing the best that they can do given the current circumstances. COVID has not been easy on anybody. I know that lots of hard decisions were made at the early onset. The bottom line is that I think we're trying to come out a little bit stronger because of it. It's not going so well. I think crime is rising. I think it's obvious. We see it in newspapers, we hear next door. Lots of folks posting up about smash and grabs and things like that. I think that our police force is, with the given legislation, recent legislation that's finally gone through in Columbia, I think they're kind of handcuffed, so to speak. So I don't think that's going very well. I do think that our sound transit issue, I'll call it, is getting better. I think that as we navigate that, all parties should be able to reach an amicable state.
Why do you think it's getting better with Sound Transit? Sorry, I guess I missed that.
One of the things that I recently read was that Metro weighed in on some of the routing, and I think it was a little more beneficial to the situation. I think it relieved or alleviated some of the complaints or some of the issues that were being litigated. I don't know the full aspect of that. I just understood what I read. Obviously, I didn't go fully into it, but the sense that I got from what I did read was that it was moving to a better state.
We are still litigating.
Absolutely. As far as I know, we're still litigating. It's not totally done.
So, what did you? Oh, okay. How do you differentiate yourself from your opponent? And how should people think about you versus your opponent?
Well, again, so we started out, the question early on was, why don't I take off-island money or off-island party money? I'm about Mercer Island, right? So if you look at any of my contributions, it's all Mercer Island, period. And so I think that's one big distinction right there that I can say with some force. Just being able to go out and see the parks, know that I can have that impact, working with all of you potentially, right? And listening to you to do that without having to listen to off-island priorities coming at me, right? I think that's another important distinction as well.
And I know Victor asked a two-part question. He
Oh, he did?
asked
I'm
what
sorry.
was going well and what do you think was not going well? So I'm just gonna follow up on that and ask, what do you think is not going well currently right now?
So the not going well portion was the crime, right?
Okay.
So crime is going up. I know that we're still recovering business wise,
Mhm.
right? And, I think that kind of goes back to Dan's question as well. What can Mercer Island do to help out businesses? Like I said, I'd have to dig into it and ask a bunch of questions at that level too, to see if there were incentives that were being given, or landlords are helping out those tenants that are living in their buildings or working in their buildings. I'm pretty sure there were. I think that was one of the more common things I read, that everybody was kind of in this together and trying to help out. So I think that our school system, not to go into that conversation too deep, but I know there's a pretty heated election cycle coming up for that. So I'm kind of curious to see what's going to happen. Speaking as a parent with a child in the school system, right? Not necessarily as a council member, but I'd like to see how that's going to show out here in another month or so. Yeah.
Okay, I have another one. I understand that you have coached several island youth sports teams. Thank you. What is your favorite sport to coach? And what lessons have you learned through coaching that you can apply to your position as a council member?
So my basketball record is definitely better than my football record, oddly enough. 2 championships in basketball, just so you know.
Very nice.
So what have I learned? I think the biggest thing I've learned is humility and how to be humble, right? Because these kids I coached and were a part of their lives, they're so smart, it's not even funny, right?
Mhm.
So here I am, I think I know all these things, and they're like, no, coach, we don't need to do it. Like, we've got to do it this way. I'm like, okay, there you go. So really it was, I show up, I get the balls from the ball area, we give the balls to the kids, and I'll say, all right, we'll practice our form and whatever we're going to do. It's like, so what offense you guys want to put in? So I put it back to them, right? And so one, that helps them pay attention. 2, there's a little bit of pride in that, right? So when that offense works or that defense works, the kids are kind of fluffed up a little bit and they're kind of running around, especially when they're talking to their friends on the court or the next day in class, right? But being humble, it was a tremendous honor just to be part of their lives, right? And I coached great kids that were due to great parents, right? You don't get great kids from having good parents, so to speak, right? So that kind of works hand in hand. So I had great parents to work with, great kids to work with, who taught me that, again, humility and how to be humble. So.
And so how will that help you
Um,
be a council member?
If I approach the council position the same way with humility and humbleness, one, it helps me, again, 2 ears, 1 mouth. I'm listening twice as much as I'm talking. I'm listening to those around me. I'm not forcing my vision or my view on them. But if anything, I'm listening to them, internalizing it, and then mixing it with my own, and then trying to come up with a better plan or a better solution at the point. Even if it means I have to listen to the other council members and what they have to say and try to internalize that as well. It'll be the same thing. So.
How many council members do you know personally?
I know personally 3 others. I know 3 others personally, right?
3 sitting council members.
I do. And I've met Councilmember Rosenbaum. I haven't met Councilmember Reynolds. And I think I've seen Mayor Wong walking around. All right, well, you've been too quiet, buddy. What do you got?
Oh, boy. So I gotta listen, but no. Like what you say, I'm a big listener. That's not good talk. But,
So I got to coach his son too.
yeah,
So,
Very nice.
yeah, so. I agree. And coach, you get on the best. It's a great, it's a great thing. I will say, not taking funds from our families, so it's, it's a great thing. Yeah.
I hear your mask, that was kind of mumbling.
Oh, I'm sorry. I mumbled out.
Just take your mask
I'm
down
not
when you
mumble
talk.
less.
Yeah.
There you go.
But I think it's commendable not to, stuff like that. And I think, after hearing crime is, definitely the biggest, one of the biggest issues on the island, which comes down to just quality of life, which everybody here is, people choose to live here because of the quality of life. Hands are tied because of state legislation, not necessarily local legislation.
Right.
And so, I think, I don't really have, I think that's next. I don't really have questions. I just have good faith going forward.
No pressure, no
Yeah.
pressure.
Yeah.
This is the fireside chat.
No, you know what? I actually do have a small question. So how is the, there's a lot of, right, so there's a lot of issues with the school board, like hot issues, and I don't even really know what they are. I mean, I think some of them curriculum wise, stuff like that, new issues and stuff like that. I mean, doesn't city council?
You should have been here Sunday night. You could have talked to Deborah Lurie.
Yeah,
That's cool.
that was a good.
That's
that was a
cool.
good-
So,
Okay, that's the, no, but how does the city council,
so that's,
how do they work together?
so
Like city
the,
council, school board and stuff.
the school board and council, they're simply, right?
Right.
The best the council can do is make sure that our counselors are funded. That access is, they have, and people who need their services today and in the future have easy access to those counseling services necessary. I will say to do your homework, both for council and school board. And yes, if there's any children out there or parents of children, it never ends. So you can tell them that. I understand this. Homework never ends, but please do your homework. The worst that you can do is not vote. So be as informed as you can.
All right, so yeah, so the city council just make sure the school board, they have funds and stuff like that. And,
Well, we work to make sure
right,
that our counselors are funded,
okay,
that work within the school system itself.
gotcha.
And then the school board itself has their own, they basically like a little another little council.
You're independent, right? Yeah, exactly. No, I was just curious about like that.
We have a softball question.
Oh,
Not another Dan softball question. 'cause that one's
No.
moving all over the place.
This is from Georgia.
Okay.
Given that you're at Island Books, what is your favorite book of all time?
Oh my gosh. I think I like the Book of Five Rings best. And I say it's the best because it challenges me the most to read it. I can only get through just a couple pages at a time before my brain is literally overwhelmed with my own kind of questions. Like, what does it mean by that? How is that supposed to happen that way? So I try to work through that. I have other books that I read as a kid, obviously, Stephen King and James Clavell and all those. I could just see literally curling myself up in a chair like this, and just kind of reading and falling asleep in the chair, right? Happy and comfortable. So, but yeah, Book of Five Rings, I think is probably one of my favorite books ever.
Very nice.
Why is that?
I think it's just for me personally, it's a mental exercise on introspection, self internal look at myself when I read these things. And it's like, do I do that well? Do I not do that well? Can I incorporate this? How do I use this to be better dad, coach, husband, whatever it may be? How do I use it to be a better friend, right? So, like I say, it's I oftentimes overwhelm myself with my own questions at that point. So,
How you feel about trying to keep Mercer Island independent?
so that's a common theme tonight, I think, right?
Can you repeat the question so they
Sorry.
can hear?
So the question was, how do I feel about trying to keep Mercer Island independent? And I think we've had a lot of conversation tonight that's kind of swirled around that exact topic and idea. For me, it starts with not taking off island money or taking money from off island interests, parties, PACs, or individuals. My goal again is to make sure I'm for Mercer Island, by Mercer Island, Mercer Island, right? And so, and I hope that kind of just drives it and gets it to that point, right? Is
Well, that would be nice, but we have a few council members that would like us to be more like Seattle. So we had some really great ones a long time ago. That's why we have the nicest stretch of I-90, why we have those park lids. And they had to fight hard for that stuff, to stay independent, fight for those things.
right.
And it seems like we've lost a lot of steam in the city for fighting to stay independent and to be what we want to be, not what somebody wants us to be.
Right. Yes, Carol.
And how do you feel about outsourcing our fire and police services to Bellevue?
Well, like our previous conversation earlier is, I think I had indicated that I like having our police force on the village. I don't know that we need to do that. Like I said, I need to dig into that. And as you're an elected council member, that's what I'll do. I would want to figure out why that would even be raised up, right? Is it just a budgetary issue? Is it something else? Maybe it's training. I don't know that we have a ladder truck on the island. We have.
We contract with Bellevue.
Right. So if Bellevue doesn't have a fire truck available, that's got a ladder on it, what we do. Right. So I don't know that. I can say honesty and say with some intent that I don't know the answer to that question just yet. I do know that I like having our folks on it.
Someone published a really good study on that issue.
Mhm.
And some of those questions were answered. You might want to try and find that.
I will do. I'll definitely look that up. Was it published on Nextdoor? So I don't know. I'll have to look that
No,
up.
you can get it from the city though.
You can
Okay,
get it
yeah.
from the city,
Sure,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, and
Okay.
it was a good coverage of that issue, specifically to do with the fire department. I haven't seen one on the police yet.
Okay. No, I'll definitely look that up. Thank you.
You should look at other cities that have also done that
Mhm.
and what's happened to theirs. So there's a lot of information out there to make a good decision on. I'm not big on Mercer Island.
I've got about 45 different finals coming up all at once. That's how I feel.
Well, what's the part of the fire department? I haven't done my homework on it, but I thought it had a lot to do with the old time costs that aren't being managed, right? That overtime was driving salaries.
That document covers that too.
I think fundamentally, the question, I don't think anybody said they want to get rid of our fire department. I
Right.
think exclusively the question is, the fire department consumes an incredible amount of our budget, comes out of the general fund. So if it goes to fire, it's not going someplace else. So it's an area that potentially, if you could cut that cost in any manner, whether in any way, would be very beneficial to the city. So the idea was to look to other locales and look at other cities and see what they're doing and see if it makes sense for us. Because what you're trying to do is cut off the overhead, not the individual firefighters we have. It's a matter of levels of management. And I think it was inconclusive. I mean, I think Carol's, I think the study that came back said, well, there's a bunch of things you could do, maybe do, and so forth. So nothing conclusive came with it. And nothing conclusive happened either. So, it will be an ongoing, with all aspects of the city. How do we manage our budget? And if you look at fire, take the 10 most expensive players in Mercer Island, 7 of them in the fire department. Okay, so we say, well, wow.
You're talking from a salary.
Salary and burden. Yeah. So it's kind of that was the reason people would be focused on it.
Mhm.
Now, whether that can be changed or whether it's desirable, I mean, we never got there. I mean, that's just, it's the area of inquiry. It's something you can play with.
Yeah. I know that.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. Very helpful.
Okay, how are we feeling? I don't have any more questions online.
Oh, the last one's got to be favorite movie, man. Come on.
Favorite movie? I've had a lot of favorite movies.
You know, the one you watch over and over.
I think I like Castaway. I like Castaway. Not a lot of talking,
Right.
right? A lot of beautiful scenery. Guy kind of in his own headspace, trying to make the best that he can, doing what he can to survive, right? So, yeah. I mean, for having an actor like Wilson with Tom Hanks, I mean, that had to be a pretty powerful moment for him, right? Probably didn't get a lot of feedback though from the
That's a
audience.
good, yeah. Sure.
Just gonna ask to make sure there's no more questions
So are you
online.
having fun? Are you having fun? Do you find joy in going out and meeting the people and seeing what's on their mind?
I do. I really like when I ask, what do you love about Mercer Island? I get a wide range of answers, from the schools to the parks to perceived safety that they have,
Which we have had.
Yeah, true. Folks that have been on the bad side of that, true. And then there's folks who have not had anything happen to them. Hopefully never will. So, and a lot of it is folks that have now retired that can look back on 40 or 50 years on an island and just almost give a history lesson on the spot of everything they've seen that's happened, right? It's pretty awe-inspiring, actually. It's kind of harkening back to golden days, so to speak, right?
How many of those people are happy with how it's going?
Probably less than 50%, to be
That's
honest
it.
with you,
Okay.
right? Yeah. So probably less than 50% that are happy with the overall current state. I mean, and there's just heavy factors weighing on the current state. The pandemic weighs heavily on everything we do, right?
But would you ask them if they'd move? Would they move?
No, they're not.
Well, most of them. There are a few moving off though.
But there are a couple that are moving off. But for the most part, I found that they maybe weathered something in their past on Mercer Island, and it's maybe was good and got bad and got good again, and it's kind of a cycle now, and they're just kind of riding it out to see how good it's going to get.
And do you have someone in your past that you like to gauge your leadership qualities?
My father-in-law, he's prior Marine, commercial real estate guy, taught me a lot about just how to be a good guy, how to be a great father to my kids. I married the baby of the family, which don't ever do that. And so, my father-in-law taught me a lot about that. He taught me that there's a saying like about it's just kind of patient and kind of ride it out, so to speak. And we got to play the long game here, right? Where we can maybe make some short-term changes, kind of low-hanging fruit, maybe, but we're in this for the long haul, right? So, and the long haul is eventually I would love my kids to come back to this time, like I mentioned before. That's how I'm thinking. So I'm thinking tomorrow a little bit, but I'm mainly thinking in 10 years, right? So that's kind of what my headspace is. That's how I want to approach decision making.
And where did you grow up?
So I grew up all over the world. So my dad was in the military. I was in the military. And so I got to see places that were just beautiful, and I got to see places that were just terrible. And so a lot of that shapes how I think about how I act and what I want things to be like. Definitely don't want to be on the bad side for sure. But I'm kind of a realist in that way too, is that sometimes it's got to be a little bad before you get it better. Right. So
And how did you meet your wife from Mercer Island?
we were in the military together. So we were both stationed in Korea at the time. I met her there. And yeah, we've just been together ever since. It's kind of weird.
So you're originally from Texas?
No. So, yeah, right. So I grew up coast to coast in Asia. I grew up, California was where we stayed the longest. And then my dad retired in California. And I joined the military from there, and here I am.
So you keep saying military, what branch?
So I was in the Army. Jumped out of perfectly good airplanes, fixed a lot of airplanes at the same time. Yeah. I just, jumping out of airplanes is a character building moment.
Did you and your wife meet jumping out of an airplane?
Oh, no. So we were in the same aviation meeting in Korea. And this was right before I left to go to jump school and learn to do that. But she was also trained to do aviation movements as well. So
What year did she graduate?
she graduated Mercer Island in 87, and Whitman in 91, 92, I think. Yeah, 91. So,
Got a question.
So I understand correctly, the long game, that's personal, right? Not city council. We don't have 10 years.
well, sure. I mean, but I could be sitting here again in 4
Hmm.
or 2 or however that shakes out, right? So, but the decisions we make today are going to be the ones they're going to be realized potentially not in the immediate future, right?
Correct.
So,
Correct.
and so by saying the long game here, it's trying to be responsible stewards of the voices of Mercer Island and the folks who put us in a position where we can make those decisions, right? I mean, that's ultimately what it's all about. Is it's not me, it's for everybody.
Right.
So
No,
I'm just part of that everybody at the end of the day, right? So it's kind of self-serving, I suppose.
we're just trying to maintain
Yeah,
what Mercer Island has been.
right. So Mercer Island's unique. It's got its own personality, and there's a lot of pressure from outside forces to upset that, right? And I want to try to make sure that doesn't happen.
There is a question online that says, what is the one thing you would like Mercer Island voters to know about you?
My word is my bond. If you ask me a question, I'll give you an answer, and it'll be an honest answer, even if it hurts. But I'll never complain about it, and I won't ever do that without giving you a potential solution that I've maybe thought through, right? So I just won't give you an answer wrong. Right? I'll ask you what you think, how can we fix it, so on and so forth. All right. Carol, any other questions? You've been tremendous amount of knowledge tonight. Thank you very much. Yeah, so I just want you to-
Don't take me as the final authority.
not at all, right?
Do your research is what my
Exactly.
message to you is.
All input is welcome.
What's your spirit animal?
My spirit animal?
Yeah.
Oh, geez. Thing like a mako shark,
Oh,
right? Silent, old school, moves fast.
what's yours?
I mean, that
Honey back, there you go.
Oh, my God. Okay, well, if nobody has any more questions, we are going to close just a little bit early.
Okay.
Thank you very much for being here, and thank you everyone for being here in the audience.
Everybody, look what we get. We really have enough in-person people.
That's right. I know. Very exciting.
the online people want to come by and get one.
That's right.
Yeah, we'll save like one corner.
Yeah,
Hey,
Thank
Dan, come
you.
run down. I know you're close. We'll get you a cookie, buddy.
Okay,
Thank you, everybody, for being online, and I appreciate your time and questions.
you bet.
Well, we thank you for putting yourself out to give us opportunities to learn more about Mercer Island and your views. Thank you.
I appreciate that. Thanks for bringing that.
Okay.
Well, thank you all for coming in person too. I appreciate you spending an hour here. Probably a tremendous day with me.
So I was a military brat.
All
My
right,
dad
really?
was in the Navy for 30 years.
Oh, wow,
And I
nice.
lived,
He's still a
all
brat.
over.
Oh, I know.
Sorry.
Yeah, Japan was my favorite.
Okinawa, so my dad was stationed
I can
there for two tours,
So,
no, 3 years, and then he was in Yokosuka.
Yep, so I spent a lot of time with Cusco playing baseball.
Carol, are we gonna see you on Thursday?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know.
so
We're gonna take-
we played a lot of the Japanese teams, so I was in Dakota.
Carol,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And so,
I've been to Dakota a couple times.
yeah, and so we played a lot of the teams on the outside edge. Yeah, I'll tell you, Japanese baseball, it's a
very
whole
different.
different ballgame than American baseball is. So it's almost like American baseball is good,
Yeah.
but
That's a tradition. The election year tradition.
Oh, yeah. So,
I got to be, so we were in Coronado for the last, for 6.5 years.
Thanks for
And,
coming.
thank you.
so we're all totally offline, right?
We are, oh yeah, closed down. And,
Oh, God.
So
Like a brain
we're,
fart on one of those
we're at Homestead, you live.
So I live on the secret entrance to the backside of West Mercer
oh yeah.
on 80th Avenue Southeast. So I live on the ravine, literally.
Uh-huh.
The ravine is my backyard.
Because my dad lives on 80th. He
Okay.
lives on, but he lives on the other side of 40th.
Oh, yeah,
That's the
yeah.
house that I grew up in.
Very cool.
Who's your wife?
So Tracy McCall.
I know Tracy.
Yeah, really?
Well, I mean, she was a lot younger, not a lot younger.
So
her-
so her
But
brother
she's
and her
living
sister,
it,
right?
so I knew that. So my mom knew her mom.
Right, and so the Wards.
I didn't know the words.
So she was actually like a teacher, something like that. The wife was actually a teacher out at.
Oh yeah. Mrs. Ward. Yeah,
Miss Ward. So she lives like, if my house is right here, she lives right there. That's one from. She lives on my little.
Yeah.
Yeah, she lives right there.
Huh.
Yeah.
But I remember the name Tracy McCow, and my mom knew. I don't know.
Yeah.
Your mother-in-law, Mrs. McCow.
Patty.
Yeah.
So my, I don't know when you graduated from high school.
84.
So my brother-in-law is Kevin McCow and my sister-in-law is Nori McCow.
I only knew of Tracy McCow.
Okay. Yeah, so she
But
would have
yeah,
been.
that was my way to school.
Oh, nice.
Oh yeah, because I was a West Mercer graduate. West Mercer is where
Fun.
I actually learned English.
Really?
Yeah. Because my
Wow.
parents were both refugees, and so
Got
I
it.
went to kindergarten, no English.
Well, I hope that was a good experience.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. No. So we can't leave these cookies laying around, right? We gotta eat these cookies. So.
No,
Gotta eat
really?
Cookies. Oh, yeah. Gotta do it, man.
They're gonna take?
I'm gonna take 2 home.
Oh,
So
you
y'all
should,
have to-
no, you should.
No, you guys should take
No,
it.
no, I don't want to. Thank you. You take it
Okay.
home,
Okay.
your teeth, you use your water. You're awesome, thank you. Your bag.
Well, thank you again, y'all, for
Sharing.
doing this. Yeah.
You bet.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here.
So my- So I had my phone in my pocket and it's like literally been foaming up all night.
Really?
It's probably, don't answer that. Don't answer that.
Well, there's nothing worse than it being in your pocket and it's going crazy, right?
Like I said, you're distracting me. You're distracting me.
Yeah, that's, yeah. That's- Well,
Well, shoot. Huh?
yeah.
Yeah.
We need to go to Tracy's house.
What is
And
So
I'm
I
not-
didn't realize that was like a boom mic, right? So what you could do is put it right here on the table.
Yeah.
And have the boom itself, like have it face like this.
Yeah.
Right? Kind of like that.
Oh, I see.
Oh,
And then
and
so it's not direct, it's directional and it's taking in the voice right in front of it. And then,
The problem is the cameras there.
right, no understood, right?
you
So
could put it to
But
the
we
side.
you can
or
put
we
like
could've just done
down
this.
here.
Or we could, would
Yeah,
this
you
have worked?
honey,
Would
you
we have
could
done
put that right here and it.
Yeah, you can do the
face
same
that.
thing, right? So the idea is that it's a direction, it's
Yeah,
a boom mic
directional.
directional, right? So.
Well,
let's
I
keep
only
going.
had the one comment because I asked everybody at the very beginning, can you hear
Right, right,
everything?
right.
And they said it was fine. And then Hunter said, the audio is low right now.
Right.
So for
And
whatever
then,
reason.
like an external monitor, maybe behind, so the person can look up and see what's going on the screen as well, maybe.
I'm not that fancy.
Well, the only thing that was
I'm
going
not
on the
that
screen
fancy.
was you. Seriously. I
That's a
mean,
scary thought, man, because I already got a big head, right?
Because everybody else is not on
Oh,
camera.
yeah. I got a
So-
fat head, so me filling up a whole
No, it
screen
was-
is terrible.
No, but these books were amazing behind
Oh,
you. It
that's
was a
good.
great, when my hope is by Friday, I will have everything edited so I can put it on our YouTube channel. So I'll have Deborah, you, and Daniel up
Oh, yeah,
before this
nice.
weekend, and then I'll.
Daniel was practicing on you.
Yeah, he was.
See, you're
I'm gonna
screwed because you're
throw
at the
him a,
beginning.
that's okay. I'm gonna
Everybody
throw him a
at the beginning
softball with a changeup. this weekend, too. So, Dan's a good guy. He's a really good guy. Actually, I like talking to him. I'm happy that we're not running against him. Well, you know, I like talking. I like it. That's what we do.
Great night.
Hey,
You,
Oh, yes. Yeah.
I told you, I didn't know if you used it at home or not. Do you have any meetings or calls? What? You got them? And I'm not cleaning back the store until tomorrow morning, so I'm ready to go. You need to take the mic home.
Where's the bag?
Oh, here, let me do that. Just, to me, it's just like that was a terrible way to do this.
What was a terrible way to do it?
Well, again, they get to do whatever they want for their hour, but it's like, I'm just gonna open up the questions. I was like, oh, fuck. Thank God Tracy is on why I'm asking those questions. Otherwise, you want to keep the mic here? Or do you need to take it home for a meeting? We don't need it till Thursday. I tell you, I invited my mom. Yeah. I mean, I asked her. She said, oh my God, I'd love to see your mom. Let me go. Do you want to drop the 5 cases or no? You want me to? That's the one I talked to. No, I'm about to turn you off. Yeah. Really. Okay. Some salt to the earth in there.